Nate Hill taking the white pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate is wait, what?
Oh, game got aboard. Okay, so they have to just do the rematch. Okay. Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, but knight of 3. Is Nate taking lessons from Hutch?
Playing the mirror, yeah. I expect Nate to play the London system. Okay.
So d4, bishop f4. Oh, he was e3.
Okay, slightly different opening setup by Nate here.
Who's been teaching him? Let's listen to Nate and hear his thoughts about this position, because I don't know who his coach is.
He wants to bring to the middle, right? So I want to stop that early. I think that was too early for that. Yeah, shoot. I think I was supposed to be over here already. It's fine. We'll figure it out. I've never seen the Riti open. Not familiar. Okay, so now my... Oh, I do have this still.
Hey, Car, I feel like I'm watching one of your Blitz games right now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
He was watching video of you right before the match, so you're his inspiration.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I haven't, other than coaching Nate before his game against E-Rob, I haven't given him any other coaching.
Then I have to push H, and then that's fine. You only need one nest, right?
Awesome. He calls it the nest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're actually playing the same game, but with the pieces, with the colors reversed.
Yeah, and I mean, he clearly gets this position. The way he was talking about it, he understands it, but he didn't know the name of the opening, and it's still, he's probably pretty new to it. But still, I really wonder what got him into this opening. We'll have to ask him, but it's a good one. It's a very solid one, and as I said,
yeah, I think maybe he's just, you know what I'm thinking is maybe he's seeing the mirror, because he plays this with black, so maybe he's just seeing the mirror, and he tried to play the same opening setup as before. Because the only other thing that I would say is if I had coached him or something, I could see this opening, but I didn't coach him. So I think the only real explanation is that it's a mirror. That's the only thing I can think of.
That makes sense. And you do have plenty of videos out there of you playing this exact opening, I'm sure. So it's maybe he was watching, but
they're playing the same opening basically with colors reversed now.
That's true. He did the same thing, right? The bishop g2, castle, it's the same exact position as the first game with an extra tempo.
Right.
And
so I wonder if Hutch has realized that too, though. Now,
it's a great question. It is hard for some people to think about the position from the other side, but it is the same exact game with one extra tempo, because now Nate Hill's white and he had the first move.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think we're going to see the same mistake though.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see. Someone says, of course, he realized it. Yeah, I was saying like Hutch, because he's played so much chess, he probably does realize that it's the same opening setup. But this is gonna be fun to see what Hutch does in terms of the setup.
And Super Jim Hutch, who is just played a masterpiece in that first game, he is now up by a minute and a half. So Nate Hill, despite choosing the opening, playing a line that resembles the first game, he is now thinking. Then he does fianchetto the bishop.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I like what Nate has done in the opening phase of the game. Okay, now is he going to play h3 here? It doesn't even matter when he does it, but I do want to see h3 being played at some point by Nate.
And that way he can avoid any future e5, e4. We saw him lose to that exact tactic in the first game. It doesn't work so well because the bishop's on b2, stopping e5. But h3 is a very important move, and one that I think he should play right away, so he doesn't have to like bog himself down later worrying about it.
Right, I would agree with that, yeah.
And actually, this is a great example of, did he have a learning moment? Because they say you either win or you learn. And well, now that knight c6 is played, e5 is incoming, and there it is.
Very nice from Nate. I like this. Yeah, very, very nice move.
And just for everybody watching, once you fianchetto your bishop, it means your bishop can't really retreat, because once the bishop goes to d7, it can't go to h5 because the pawn on g6 actually blocks its progress. So you can play this move g4, and the bishop is trapped.
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is a great opening so far from Nate. I like what he's doing. And here he's probably going to play D3, I assume, or D4. My concern with D3 is that maybe Hutch will go queen to C8. I hope he doesn't do it. That'd be really nasty. Queen to C8 might already be really good for black.
Yep, putting that pressure on the pawn on H3, and then the king would have to go out to H2 to defend it. But
then you would knight G4.
You're the devil, Hikaru. Let's show that. And he still has it. So queen C8.
Yeah, he still has it. Hopefully he doesn't see it, but...
Because these bishops are staring each other down. So you should always think of a way to get your piece out the way. Mm-hmm. And let's listen to Hutch to see maybe if he's thinking about this exact plan.
All right. So if he pushes pawn, I could just push this pawn here and then wait for him to capture and then grab a hold of that file. He's got a weak pawn here, right? So if I, for example, move my queen there, I can put some pressure on that pawn.
Oh, no.
Wow.
I do have a lead in development. He still hasn't developed this knight. If I were him, I'd probably think about doing that. But it's not like, you know, he's playing fine so far, I think, right? I'm looking at pushing this pawn. Also, queen here is like an interesting
like an
move, maybe with the idea of like...
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like
he's
that.
definitely played quite a bit. Yeah, it's... This is a very tough matchup, I think, for in general for Nate, certainly. But he plays E4, which I really like. This is a good move. He's playing in the center of the board. And the good thing here, I think, is that now Hutch won't be able to get this idea with queen C8 because there will always be a pawn push to attack the knight on F6. So fortunately, Hutch is going to have to probably... I actually don't know what Hutch should do here. It's not... Taking the pawn and playing E5 does not really feel very natural. It's probably the best way to play as a human. But... objectively, Nate is doing quite well here after the pawn push.
Yeah, it's a very good decision. And we heard Hutch talking maybe about I can play E6 and then allow Nate to capture me on D5. And so he's waiting for the pawn tree. He doesn't want to release the tension. But he also mentioned this queen C8 idea. And as you know, we're saying, E6 blocks that entire option. So the bishop on D7 looks bad if you play E6. And that's what makes it hard to play.
Yeah, so, I mean, but I'm very happy with the way Nate has played because he's playing something that he doesn't understand. He's seen some of these setups, but he's not super familiar with them. So the way that he's playing this opening has been fantastic. And I really want to see how Hutch responds to this because I think certainly if Hutch has a bad reaction to the setup, what would happen is that basically it's something that I think his opponents might prepare for. Now, Hutch plays queen c8, which is actually a very bad move here because white can push the pawn to attack the knight. Come on, Nate. Just do it.
Yep.
Oh, that was you, Robert.
That's me.
You who made E5? Oh.
That's me. I'm just showing your idea.
Shame on you. Stop getting my hopes up.
I'm sorry. I blundered queen. Sometimes I have to make good moves as well. So E5 would be a very good move. The knight on F6 doesn't have many squares to go to. In fact, there's one safe square on H5. And you know what they say about knights on the rim?
Mm-hmm. Knights on the rim or grim, yes.
And usually they call them dim, but I like to think of them as grim, and then people get mad at me because they're like, oh, grim is a good thing sometimes. I'm like, what? Have you seen the Grim Reaper? Like, that doesn't seem good.
Right, exactly. Yeah, come on, Nate. Just do it. Come on, Nate. Come on. E5.
Would you think that it's an easy move to find?
No, I mean, I think the thing that's hard is he's probably not used to diagonal, so he probably doesn't realize the pawn on H3 is hanging.
Wait, was that me? No, he did it.
Yes, come on, Nate. Come on.
Let's listen to him. I thought that was me accidentally making the move, but let's. But
I just wanted to do something.
Very nice.
I'm starting to think now.
And he's extremely quiet.
There's no way he takes it. Hold on, let's think. Gotta get my horse out. Gotta get my knight and my rook out. Yeah, that's obviously what he's gonna do. It's annoying, but let's see. Is he forced? there any way I could force him to do something? Just develop?
He doesn't see that pawn h3 is hanging a card.
Let's see.
It's still okay though, I think. Even if he gives up the pawn, I think he's still doing okay because what he's got to play is just keep that knight on the side
I see
of
a
the board.
force in 2 that I could get him into.
Right, the
But
knight is stuck out.
It might not be good yet.
But he sees g4 as an option for him.
Right, so even though queen e2 is a blunder, I think even though it's a blunder, it's a good move because he sees the idea of g4 to trap the knight. So obviously he misses the pawn, but I like the reasoning and what he's trying to come up with. So in general, I think it's very good. I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing out of Nate in both of these games. Honestly, like he's a big underdog, but the reasoning behind his moves has been very fundamentally sound.
For sure. And you know, he has, like you said, all the right ideas down. Just sometimes he gets a bit of tunnel vision, as we all do, where we forget that, wait, not only is this knight potentially trapped, but wait, that queen and bishop were attacking this pawn. So he has a really good grasp. He actually understands the position quite well. And I'm with you, Icar. This position is far from over. It is one pawn, and it's an important pawn.
Well, the funny thing I was going to say is that it's in a way, it's a good thing he blundered the pawn, because if he had played pawn to g4, allowing knight f4, he wouldn't be down any material. But I think he would actually be losing almost for sure. So in a way, it's a good thing that he blundered this pawn, because now he'll never have this pawn push to g4, after which he would be very close to loss.
It's a great point that in terms of ease of playing, he plays king h2 now. So if he had played that one move earlier, that would have been preferred. But now if you take on g2 and the king takes, I get the open h file for my rook. So it's not all bad for white.
Yeah, I mean, the game is still very much alive for white with this knight on the edge of the board. I think the main issue for Nate here is trying to develop the knight and the rook into the game. That's the main problem. But again, it's still only one pawn. And against somebody like Hutch, who's one of the best players in the field, to only be down one pawn, to be hanging in there the way that Nate has, I think it's great. It's great to see.
Agreed completely. And one thing I would say in addition to all that is that from Hutch's point of view, he knows he's the favorite, but he also knows that his knight on h5 isn't comfortable. But sometimes you play a move like f6 or trying to desperately free up that knight, and those kind of moves can backfire. While it does help the knight, it exposes your king a bit more. So you have to be very careful before ever pushing this f-pawn, because then your king on g8 at least will feel a little bit of heat.
Right, exactly. So I think this Nate's done a great job. Queen f5 is a fantastic move from Hutch here. And now really the only move that I think probably keeps Nate in the game is probably something like knight to a3, but it's a very hard move to play. You put the knight on the edge of the board. I think most players have been told not to do that. They've been told you want to bring the knights towards the center. So I think, okay, queen e2 is not a bad move either, actually. It's not bad at all. I kind of like this move as well. This is good.
Yeah, he protects this pawn e5 another time so that he can actually develop the knight to c3 now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I like what Nate has done. Again, both games. First game, the one mistake, the bishop for the pawn, but here, like, one small mistake and it's only one pawn. And probably against Hutch, it's going to be too much. But it's great to see, considering how strong of a player Hutch is.
Yeah, and Hutch has to find these good moves, which he has been finding, like queen to f5. But it's not such an easy position for him either, because there are no more clear targets to exploit. So he'll have to actually come up with a plan rather than just like piling up pressure on a single piece.
Right, exactly. And again, this is where it's going to be very hard for Nate. Starting to get a little bit low on time. He's got to find a way to bring... the knight. Unfortunately, yeah, this is the natural looking square, but it blunders the pawn on c2. Although I guess he's still in the game, because with this knight still stuck on h5. Okay, now he goes knight h5. Okay, or queen g4 rather. Okay, come on, Nate. Queen e4. Let's see.
Queen e4 would be an excellent move.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard. I mean, if Nate sees queen e4, I'll be really, really inspired. I'll be very inspired.
And I'm guessing that, let's listen into Nate, because I'm guessing he sees that knight f4 check is a threat, but let's make sure that he comes up with a good response.
I can do this.
Oh, poor Nate.
Oh.
Oof. Tough. Very tough.
Oh, he's got me forked there too.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Damn. What could I have done better there?
I think the
I could've
time
just
pressure got to
queened
Mikaro.
instead of the horse.
Yeah, I mean, it's very
No,
hard.
I
Obviously,
lose
it's
my
pretty new
queen.
to game. It's not
Shit,
an
you're right, I
obvious,
could've queened.
obvious idea, but yeah, very tough.
Unlucky.
And he just said it. He just said,
Well,
I could
nothing
have
I
put my
can do
queen
now.
on e4. He recognized his mistake.
And Hutch is probably going to see the checkmate in 2 as well. Yeah, I expect Hutch to see the checkmate.
Yeah. Queen h3 check. The king only has one move. And then
Yeah.
queen g2. There he finds it. See, that's the thing, as we're talking about. Playing Hutch is so difficult because even when you're playing really well, when Hutch plays his best, he just has that experience and he doesn't blunder very often.
Right. That's very true. Yeah, Hutch is just like, yeah, really. I mean, what can you say? What can you say? I mean, very, very well played by Hutch. And actually, I mean, honestly, in terms of Nate, I have to say, even though Nate loses this match, this has been very impressive on his end as well. I mean, really, the difference in both these games has been one blunder. Like, and in this game, it was a small blunder before the knight f4 pin. So I think Nate has definitely met my expectations in this match for sure.
I think for me, he's exceeded them because you're right. It's just one little blunder, and it just goes to show that Nate's progress is very legitimate. And it also goes to show what the next step will look like. Where these little mistakes against some players that were just starting or newer to the game, they may not be devastating, but against Hutch, there's no coming back from it, and there's a resignation. So Hutch wins the match.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, just also, let's go back to this game a little